Hello and welcome to Metal Vice, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
That's right, which is mainly metal music and live music. I'm your host, Brian, joined with your other host,
Karen.
And what is today's topic about, Karen?
We're going to talk about Till Lindemann at the Aragon.
Yeah, this is part of the North American tour in 2024 with support from Twin Temple and Aesthetic Perfection. This is at the Aragon Ballroom here in Chicago. Ticket prices for us were $69.50 with $16 in fees and $8.55 in tax. I also think this was one of the $25 ticket things they did earlier in the summer.
And we already bought our tickets before that happened?
We had already bought our tickets because I looked at that and there was a few other ones. I think Baroness was one of them as well, where we paid maybe like $4 more.
Yeah.
But I thought this was going to sell out, so I wanted to make sure that we got it like super quick. I don't think it actually sold out.
No, you could tell by the number of people in there. It wasn't sold out at all.
And we made like a whole day out of this because this was like on a Sunday.
Right.
We went and did like
we
did like a walking tour of a cemetery that's supposed to be super haunted here in Chicago. And then we just wandered around, went to a few bars. One of them we went to was the Green Mill across the street from the Aragon or near the Aragon.
Yeah.
Which we hadn't been to forever. I've heard so many good things about it, so I'm finally glad we got to go there. It wasn't during their piano performance or anything they do, so we need to go back and check that out. But there was like a Malort sort of book event going on there. So that was really cool just to like wander in on that and hang out there. But afterwards we sat there, had a few more drinks and just waited for doors to open basically. And while we're sitting there talking, like the lady who was running the door, taking the cover to get in, was asking us like, are you guys going to stay for the performance tonight? Because if you aren't, you have to be out by 7. If you are, it's $10 cover charge that you need to pay me. And she's going to everyone asking. They're like, no, we got a show across the street. We're going to go check that out. Oh, okay. Who's going to be there? Till Lindemann. And it's like, oh, I don't know who that is. Like the lead singer for Rammstein. He's like, I don't know who that is either. A guy at the bar overheard us and was like, oh, I'm going to that show too. I bought tickets today on StubHub. $9 he paid, he said, for like StubHub tickets. And sure enough, we looked and there were a bunch of tickets from scalpers trying to flip them.
Or just people who kind of go.
Or
it
that.
might not be scalpers.
I hope they're scalpers, and I hope that we paid $69.50 and they're selling theirs for $9. And they're not getting all that $9. There's a cut taken off of that for, StubHub.
Yeah.
So I really hope they're scalpers who didn't get their money back, because fuck scalpers. Yeah, and also putting these songs on coming up that we're going to talk about on the playlist. I also discovered I've been saying Till's name all along.
Yeah, I think we both have for many, many years.
I always thought there was an R in there, so it was Linderman, but I think it's just Lindemann. Lindemann, yeah, no R in there.
Pronounced. We're probably still pronouncing it incorrectly.
Probably, but I've said Linderman for so long, and nobody's ever corrected us.
Like we did an episode just recently on Knotfest, and he performed for like 30 minutes at Knotfest, and we had a whole section on. Oh, not really that much, but we mentioned his name multiple times and said it wrong. Yeah,
and same things with Rammstein, right? We always say Rammstein, and you hear people say Rammstein or Rammstein. I think Rammstein. I think that's like the pronunciation, like the proper pronunciation.
Yeah, Rammstein. I feel like is what most people around here say.
Rammstein, like that always gets me. It's like I don't want to correct people. I'm like, no, it's actually Rammstein because I actually don't know, and they could be correct.
I don't know either. I guess I'm just going off of their song that's like I guess that's Rammstein, but
Rammstein. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's how I go off of, but
yeah. And in any case, you brought this up. We did see them at Knotfest, Iowa first. We talked a little bit about that during that episode as well.
Very briefly, because we wanted to use this as like our episode.
Yeah, and also like that is a festival show, so it's definitely condensed down. We're going to get a lot more at his own show, but that show itself left us with a lot to take away from that one performance as well.
Yeah, but even that show got shortened because of weather. So he was supposed to perform for 50 minutes and only performed for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was like a shortened version of his live set, which has got shortened even more. Exactly.
Yeah.
But still left you with a lasting impression of what his show is, which is very
raunchy,
shocky. Like I think he's going for that shock aspect.
No, it's definitely the shock aspect. Yeah, that's for sure.
But then again, Rammstein does that all the time anyway. We'll get into that here shortly. I guess let's just get into the bands. We're not going to talk about the venue. We've talked about the venue a lot. And we're probably going to do a bunch of 666 episodes on venues.
We're going to start doing that, on the ones, especially the ones that we go to a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe like the one, like when we go to different cities, like do a special episode on the city
Yeah.
Or not on the city, but on
of those venues.
On the venues, yeah.
That way we don't always talk about them in the episode.
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
if you're listening to this in audio version only, those are only on YouTube right now. So on that channel, that's where you're going to find all the 666s.
They're between 7-ish minutes and 20 minutes. So they're a short and condensed.
It's supposed to be one topic, not rambling like we're doing right now, but doesn't always work for us.
Don't do very well.
But yeah, getting into this, starting with the first opener, Aesthetic Perfection. They do not have a set list, unfortunately, for us to add to the playlist.
For any show?
Not that I saw the last few. I'm a little upset about that because I really enjoyed the set, but I don't think you are too disappointed by that.
No. They just weren't my cup of tea. And I mean, what's it been, a week now or 5 days?
Just about a week, yeah.
We've seen it. And honestly, like nothing's like leaving an impression on me except for the amount of backing track that they used and the lack of, I'm going to say, performance in their performance. I don't know if that makes sense, but there was just a lot of, I'm going to stand in one spot and jump up and down. And yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't really into it.
It was a 3-piece band. The guitarist was also doing keyboard, and then your drummer and your singer and whatnot, right? There definitely was a lot of backtracking, and that wasn't the greatest for me. I don't like the backtracking because at that point it's like, all right, if you're going to have bass, get a fucking bassist up here and have them play bass, right? Like.
Yeah. But it wasn't even that. There was melody parts too.
Yeah.
That were part of the backing track, and I'm just like, I don't care for this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hit and miss with backtracking. Most of the time, I hate it. I didn't dislike it necessarily here. I really wish they didn't have it and they had actual performers up there doing it. But at the same time, I really enjoyed the music itself, and the performance was fine. I felt like the stage was way too big for their band.
I was gonna say that it definitely is like a band that you want to see at a bar show.
Yeah, or just smaller.
Well, smaller. Yeah, I guess in my mind, a bar show is like a smaller venue, like a Beat Kitchen or something with a smaller stage, like even Cobra Lounge or something like that. With
Cobra would be great, I think.
Yeah, like a smaller stage for them. And I think that's where I was just like the lack of performance, because it is a larger stage to move around on, and they don't really.
Yeah, Eric on stage is just fucking massive.
It is massive.
So yeah, just those three individuals up there performing. I get what you're saying now of like they didn't really put on a great performance necessarily. I had nothing wrong with it. I thought it was great. They did sort of just stand in that middle area of the stage for sure. A little bit of movement here and there. But the music for me, like, it was catchy, kind of poppy, kind of gothy.
What did I call it? Like if Aaron Carter sung.
Yes.
That just clicked in my head. So I think I compared it to like if Aaron Carter sung like rock metal. Not like metal music, but like rock metal.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd call this. I think they referred to themselves as goth a couple times, which I kind of got from their look.
Their look, yeah.
But it was definitely more rocky for sure. You said that, and I was like, oh, I kind of get that. I kind of don't. For me, what it reminded me of is we're big fans of Big Bang Theory. I love the Big Bang Theory. We used to watch that all the time. Yeah. We still do every now and then. Whenever we get time, that's like our go-to show. There's one episode where Howard and Raj go to the goth bar to pick up goth chicks.
Yes.
And if those four formed a band, or if even Raj and Howard formed a band as the goth egos they created, that would be this band. That's what I thought of when I saw them. It was like, this is the Big Bang Theory's version of goth metal, goth rock.
Yeah, yeah.
And once I put that together in my head, watching their show, their performance, I was like, I fucking love this. This is so great.
So I just looked it up on Wikipedia, actually. And Daniel Graves must be the lead vocalist.
Okay.
And it's his band, and it's an electronic music project is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
So now it kind of makes sense with the backing track and the, like kind of the guitar and the drums kind of like a back piece and not like the main part of the show. Now it's all making sense. Like I didn't realize that, and I thought it was like they were the band, and kind of like you said, like if you're gonna have bass parts, like get a fucking bassist sort of thing. But now it kind of makes sense, and now I'm like changing my mind where it's like it's his. We saw something similar where it was like a guitarist playing, and then there was backing music and stuff for like the rest of it.
something Richards with the Baby Clock show.
Yeah.
Jason Richards.
Yeah. But anyways, so now it makes more sense, and now I'm not at. See, if I would have known that going in, then I wouldn't have been so critical. But now it makes sense for like the performance and like how it all came together and like the use of the back music and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, listening to their performance, there's one song, and we don't have the set list, so I can't throw it on. I'm not going to throw stuff on to our playlist.
Yeah, you don't like we don't pick like random songs.
Yeah, like we take the top 10 and throw those on there, but I'm not going to do that. If we can't find the set list on Setlist FM or something they posted, whatever, it's just unfortunately not going to get on there. But there's one song they played where the intro instantly reminded me of like a radio metal song that I had heard. And I remember telling you, and I think I was playing music in between sets of like going through, I think 3 Days Grace or Shinedown. It's one of those fucking bands. I swear to God it is. And I can't remember it to this day what it was now. That's been like almost a week. Any case, I heard that, and today I went back and listened to their top songs on Spotify during work, trying to find out what song it was, and it didn't come up. But I started at the top and just listened all the way through. And what you were saying about the electronic parts, there was a lot more sort of EDM elements to the recorded version than the live version that I picked up on listening to it this go around. Although thinking back on it, there definitely were some. I didn't get as much of that I did listening to it today. I didn't like it as much as their live performance, but I still really enjoyed it. I love these guys. I want to see them again so bad. I had so much fun watching their set. Personally, I don't think you would agree.
Now that I understand it more, I would maybe go see them again, but it definitely isn't at the top of my list where I'm like, oh my gosh, they're in town, let's go see them. It's more like if they're opening for somebody, it's like, oh yeah, we saw them sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely the contrary. I'm going to wait for them to come to town, and we're buying tickets, and I'm going to try to drag you along, and somehow you will be sick that day and won't be able to go. So I'll go alone. That's fine with me. Okay. A little different on that band, but getting to the next one, which was Twin Temple. We did say who the support was for this, right?
Yeah, we went through it. I'm pretty sure.
If we didn't, it was not Acacia Strain. If we didn't, it was Aesthetic Perfection and Twin Temple with Till Lindemann.
Yes. Lindemann.
Till Lindemann. I'm saying Lindemann again, right? Twin Temple we had just seen again, just like Till Lindemann at Knotfest, Iowa. Yes. And I remember sitting there on the lawn because it was a hot day. We found some shade. It was later in the afternoon. We were like, oh, let's take a break and lay here on the lawn. And I closed my eyes for a little bit and just sort of enjoyed the music and like relaxed and got into it. So I was excited to see how I would feel about their show this time around coming up here. And why don't you read off their set list for us?
Oh, it's so huge. I don't know if I'll have time to read it all. They start with The Devil, Didn't Make Me Do It, Be a Slut, Let's Have a Satanic Orgy, I'm Wicked, Satan's a Woman. And yes, that's it.
And that's it. 5 tracks.
Yeah. As a second act, that is weak.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
The time they got on stage was a lot. I think there was a lot of filler in between the songs where they just sort of, they didn't really jam necessarily, right? You got into the part of the song where there's crowd interaction and the music, you follow the same rhythm, you follow the same, you just keep it on repeat. The musicians do it. And the singer comes out there and she does her little bit, trying to get the crowd energized and whatnot. That just felt like it took forever and just drug on and on and on. And The Devil and Be a Slut, those first 2 tracks,
were like
kind of melded together, I think.
Oh, I thought it was.
I can't remember, honestly.
I remember it being 2 separate. I remember it being separate.
I remember Let's Have a Satanic Orgy and I'm Wicked. Maybe those are the 2 songs that blended together. There were a couple songs that I felt like blended together.
Oh, okay.
But maybe not, because there was one point we looked at each other and we're like, they've been playing for 30 fucking minutes and we're like 3 tracks in, 4 tracks in.
And then she said, we have one more for you. And
I just like threw my head up like, fuck this. And I went to throw my beer away, go to the bathroom and get another beer. It's like, this is fucking 5 tracks. And it just felt like there was a lot of dead time.
Yeah. I felt really bad because there were fans that were there, like dressed, like in the shirts or like in like the dress, like in the dress.
Because they have that old school sort of like 50s style. Yeah. Southwestern like look to them, and they even have that sound to them, right? Of that same kind of era and whatnot. I
saw people there with that type of clothing on, so I knew they were there for Twin Temple. And I just thought, this has to be so disappointing to come to the show because that's who you want to see.
Yeah.
And then you see 5 songs.
I do feel like the Knotfest set was so much better.
I thought it was too, but then again, we were just kind of sitting back and listening to it, so it wasn't like so much like on the, like up by the rail or whatever. But I just thought it was better as well. This is what, the 4th time we've seen them now?
Something along those lines. Always as an opener. Yeah, always as an opener.
The first time we saw them was with Ghost in 2022, January 2022, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. And then when we saw them with Danzig, right? Yeah. I was like, I even talked them up. I was like, our friends came with us, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's such a good show. It's like they put on a performance, and like there's a story behind it, like all this stuff. And then we saw them with Danzig, and I'm like, that was boring. Yeah. And then we saw them at Knotfest, which you just pulled up the set list. They played one more song, right? But we saw them at Knotfest, and I enjoyed that, just sitting back on the lawn listening to them.
That was a much better experience, I think. Yeah. That whole environment of just hanging back and listening to it. I think I would really, really love these guys in a loungy setting, or just a laid back more setting. You know what I mean? Where I think I said this once before, like a jazz club type thing.
Yeah. Or like a Park West where you could just
Park West would be sick. I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah, like in the chair.
Grab one of those booth things they have with a group of people and just hang back. Yeah. And that's a show I wouldn't mind you just sitting back and chatting to, right, amongst your friends. Like, therefore the music is sort of a backing.
Yeah. So I guess you wouldn't want to do like Park West as like if it's like a show, you wouldn't want to do Park West, but because like if it's a show, you don't want to talk.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of like they're up there on stage. You have people down the dance floor dancing like you would in the 50s. Like in my head, that's what you would do in the 50s.
I get what you're saying.
And then you have the outer rim of people just like hanging back, hanging out, having a good time, talking amongst themselves quietly, but also enjoying the music and getting some drinks and just hanging out for the night. If they want, go down the dance floor and dance. That to me in my head, that's like this is the perfect setting for it. But that's like 50 years ago, right?
Yeah,
Going back in the past, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Anyways.
Any hoodles, yeah. I was extremely disappointed with this set for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was.
And I think when we recorded the Knotfest show, you were like, I get what they're doing. Like, just don't give a shit. They're just up there performing. Like, it's all good. And now I'm like, yeah, they need to give a shit.
I mean, I think they did, but those interlude moments in between the songs, or in the middle of the songs, where she's like, "Who wants this rose?" and we're going back and forth. Like, it just took too long. And at Knotfest, they had like left side cheer, right side cheer, and they didn't do that this time. So it was just like dead time to be dead time. Like it just felt very dead space that wasn't being filled that well. Even though there was music going on, there was chatter with like her talking and whatnot. It just, I don't know. I did not like the performance. I enjoyed the music as a gimmick.
Yeah.
But I don't know where the fuck they're going to go from here. I don't know what's next, right?
Oh, yeah. I could not imagine like a headlining show with that.
Like, not even that, but like a second or third album of this, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, Ghost, the band Ghost, this is very much in the same realm as Ghost and that kind of music in terms of context and imagery and whatnot, right? And even Ghost has played around with this era with, what is it? Kiss the Goat, Mary on a Cross, and their new one that just came out as part of the movie.
Yeah.
Those all have that sort of 60s, 50s sort of vibe to them, that sound to them. And they fucked around with that sound a bit, which is really cool. It's novel-ish. Like, you don't hear that sound anymore in new music, so bring it around for new music and the new generation. Like, that's great. I love that sort of artistic sort of expression and just traveling down that path and presenting with new shit. I just can't see them doing it again and again and again and again.
Right. Multiple albums, multiple years. That's
I'm left with like, what the fuck does this band do next? Do they then go from the 50s to 60s, or if they're in the 60s, they go to the 70s, then the 80s? That would be
interesting, though.
It could be fun.
Yeah.
But then their live performance is going to be them changing costumes in between each generation, right? And unless they blow up like Ghost, like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of bands that put a lot of thought and effort into their live performance. And it's great. You go to the show not to hear the music. You go to the show for the experience, for the show. And I think it's great when bands do that. In This Moment is one of them I'm thinking of here along this lines of some bands put too much thought into their performance that they end up shooting themselves in the foot, and the performance they put together is more of a hindrance on.
Yeah.
Because yes, I'm there to see the performance, not just to hear the music, but also I'm there to hear the music mostly. I want a performance on top of the music, and if you're just going to sit here and shoot yourself in the foot, and you're going to have this dead time in between when Maria's going off and changing wardrobes, and it's just dead silence in between. We've been to a number of shows of theirs like that. It's just boring, and it takes you out of it, and it takes the energy away so fast.
Right. And when you said, oh, if they do the decade thing, like they would have to change their outfits, that's exactly what I went to, was like an In This Moment show. And I'm like,
yeah,
no, I would not go see that.
I fucking love In This Moment so much. I love their music. Their live performance, we've been to maybe 2 good live performances.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Or maybe 3. And all 3 of them, whatever one we've been to, I guarantee you they were an opener. Where they didn't have time to do that fucking shit. You've got 40 fucking minutes, you get on, you get off.
No, you're right, yeah. The 3 times that they were opening was so much better.
Yes.
Like, festivals suck, and the one time that we saw her headlining show, it sucked.
And I haven't explored Twin Temple that much to know if they have a very deep catalog. So maybe their catalog is very, like, they only have 8 tracks. And they're trying to fill the time. But at the same time, you have 8 tracks, cut off some of the bullshit you're singing and talking about.
Play 8 tracks?
And play those 8 tracks.
7 to 8 tracks is normal for a second opener. Or for, like, the second band before the headliner. So, I mean, they could have definitely done that.
Yeah. I'll definitely keep an eye on this band for sure. Because, I like the sound. But, again, to me, it's kind of gimmicky. So, like, how much longevity does that gimmick have for me? And I honestly don't think it's that much. I'll watch you as an opener. But if you give this was by far their worst performance we had seen of them. And if I get another performance like this, I'm sort of like, I guess I can skip this set and I'll go to the bar or I'll go to merch at that point in time.
Yeah. According to Google, they have 23 songs.
Jesus, fuck. That's a lot more. We've only ever heard
these 5.
6. Yes. Yeah. We've always heard these same songs.
Yeah. And maybe that's it. And I mean, we've seen them now 4 times over 2 years.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years now, because it was at the beginning of 2022 and now we're almost at the end of 2024.
I do wonder if this is where they started to blow up, though. Avatar is just like this as well, where you don't hear their old shit. They're like first 4 albums.
Maybe their old shit is good, like better. But 2018 was the first song that came out. So.
But I mean, still, this could have been when they blew up. I don't know. I'll have to go check out their older shit now.
Or 2017, excuse me. We might have to check some stuff out. So.
I don't know. I had just come around to them after Knotfest. I was kind of excited to see them here. And then this performance I just felt was by far the worst performance we had seen of theirs. Danzig being next, then the first time, then Knotfest being number 1 for sure.
Yeah. And I guess here, them being the second opener before Till went on, I was thinking we would get a 45-minute set, which we did. Well, 35 minutes probably. But of actual music and not just their opening set.
When did this start, the show? It was an 8 p.m. show for 3 bands, which is kind of late. So maybe they...
Yeah, and we were done by 11. We were back at the train by 11, so...
So that was one thought I had, is they didn't get that normal 40-minute slot, and they just got like a 20, 30-minute slot.
I think it was like 35 minutes.
Yeah, but what I was saying in my head is like, maybe they were cut short because Till's going on, he's going to play for fucking ever.
Yeah.
But in any case, that's a good transition to Till then.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his set list real quick before diving into it all. Have fun with these.
Yeah, I'm going to pronounce all of them wrong. So he started with Zunge, Scheissvis, Fat, Altes Flisch, Elsfresher, Golden Shower, Sportfrei, Blut, Preisabort, Platz 1, Fish On, Du hast kein Herz, and then the main set ended with Skills in Pills, and then there was a 3-song encore of Nebel, Entre dos Tierras, and ended with Ich has Kinder. I apologize to anybody who speaks German. I do not.
Fill up my beer real quick before we get into this conversation. This will be fun. All right, so like we said, we talked a little bit about this during Knotfest Iowa, and a couple things that came up there. We didn't want to give too much away for there, but we definitely said it was very explicit, very, and we said earlier, very shocky, very edgy, I guess.
But you also brought up that with the sexuality parts or sexual parts
during that
you were like, it's more like just showing it instead of being like, oh, this is explicit. I mean, it is explicit, but just kind of trying to have a different sight on it where it's like, this isn't bad. I mean, these are just body parts. It's not like a bad thing.
Yeah, that was one thing I did bring up, was definitely like, and I've thought about this before as well, especially watching the one of the Woodstock documentaries. There was a guy who unfortunately died during the Metallica set, and that's who we went to see. But they're reading his journal during this documentary, and as they're reading, it's like going by like day by day, right? And it's like boob count. We just got here. Boob count's already up to 10. It's been 3 hours. Boob count's up to 40. And then it's like day 2, boob count way too high. Honestly, I'm kind of getting tired of it. And at the time, I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, wait, no, okay, it kind of makes sense. You're at that point, you're sort of desensitized by the shock of, oh my God, there's boobs, there's nipples, which are very sort of taboo especially here in America. Right?
Yeah.
Like even like simply breastfeeding is taboo for some reason.
Yeah, in other parts, I mean, some areas of the country it's fine.
Yeah.
And then other parts it's like you can't see that.
Right.
And like even how I grew up, it's like you don't even talk about anything. There's no like I couldn't even go to any of those like sex ed things in school.
Right. And about that breastfeeding thing, I don't think I told you this. Walking down the street this week, like Monday of this week, I went to go get a soda, and there's a child sort of playpen around us where parents take their kids to like play and do shit, right?
Like what
I'm talking about.
Child jungle gym type.
Yeah.
Yes. Not a playpen.
Whatever children do to be safe and play and have fun and whatnot.
An indoor play area.
And the parents are always there with them and whatnot, right? And I'm walking by this, I'm looking in like 9 in the morning. I was like, holy shit, there's a bunch of kids in here. There's never this many kids in here. And a lot more parents than there are here. And I'm like walking in looking. Last time we walked by it, they had Sweet Mandy Bees.
Well, they did.
And I wanted to break in to steal their fucking goodies because Sweet Mandy Bees is fucking awesome. If you ever come to Chicago, get Sweet Mandy Bees. Fuck the pizzas, Sweet Mandy Bees. They're frosted cookies, Scotcheroos. They don't call them Scotcheroos. It's
peanut butter Rice Krispies.
Yeah, they're fucking killer. And then the brownies with icing on them are fucking phenomenal. In any case, they had Sweet Mandy Bees. So again, I was looking in, and right by that Sweet Mandy Bee place where they had all that last time. Not, you know what I'm saying? Where the Sweet Mandy Bees were.
On the table where the kid's birthday party was happening.
I'm sitting in there watching in, looking in as I walk by. And as I'm doing that, there's a woman sitting there breastfeeding a kid. And I like notice it, and it takes me a second to realize what's going on. It's like, I need to fucking look away before I feel like a creep, like staring at this. But again, like that's the thing, like it's very taboo here in the States.
It's the culture of don't show your boobs, don't do
Right.
anything. Yeah.
So I honestly think it's fine. Like there's the whole free the nipple movement. Go ahead, fucking do it. Like tits and nipples shouldn't be this taboo sort of thing, right? And when I saw Till Lindemann at Knotfest Iowa, and there's a part where he's just showing a bunch of different boobs on the screen, different sizes and shapes and everything. They're just flashing over and over. Or is it?
It's vaginas.
Vaginas, cunt. The song is cunt, right?
No.
Isn't it?
No.
That's part of the song at the end. They yell cunt.
Oh, at the end
cunt.
They do.
Any case, when I saw that segment of very explicit body parts, let's leave it that way, I guess, at Knotfest Iowa, that's what my mind went back to, is this guy at the Woodstock show and just sort of being desensitized to it. And it's like, oh, actually, this is kind of good. Like, fucking throw a bunch up here and realize, oh, this isn't a sexual thing necessarily, right?
Yeah,
it's just, it's a body part. You shouldn't necessarily be sexually aroused to this. If you are, cool, or there's moments where it can be very arousing, but it in its nature isn't the arousing part, right? So that desensitization and desexualization of women in particular, I was like, this is fucking awesome.
I feel like Europe is so much better at this than us, because even just this week I was watching like a either Instagram story or a YouTube video. I can't remember because I watched both, but it's of a couple that likes to travel, and they were in Italy, I believe, and they were at a beach. So one side of the beach is people laying naked, like sunbathing,
like a
nude beach. But then not even like halfway across the beach, like you can see them in the same shot, is a school group on like a field trip. And it's like, that's just how different it is in Europe versus here, because you would never see that here.
Yeah, and I hate I go to Comic-Cons all the time, and this really pisses me off. I have a print by Ben Frost that I love, who does he does a lot of anime, a lot of just pop culture references painted on company bags. So he does like McDonald's boxes, like fry boxes. The one I have is a Krispy Kreme and an anime girl on there with like her breast showing on it. And I found that first time at my very first C2E2. And the booth it was at was a gallery here in town, Vertical Gallery, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And they had a booth there. And this was up there on the corner. And the guy had sticky notes over her nipples. And I was like, this is fucking art. Why are you covering up art? Like, you wouldn't do that going into an art museum, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of nude ladies in art museums. And here, though, there's kids around, maybe. I don't know. But then you look 2 booths down, and there's a woman wearing, like, the thinnest bikinis ever, selling comic books. Like, she is simply there to get people to come gather so the artist and the writer could sell their comic book.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is worse than the fucking art. Sure, you don't like the art. It's not good. It's not to your taste, but it's still art, right? That is simply objectifying body to sell something. And to me, that's much worse. And especially in the entertainment and within the comic industry, there's so much body dysmorphia going on there. Like, I've had this problem for so long of like looking at movies and comic books and shit like that and be like, I don't look like that. I don't have a 6-pack ab. I don't look good because I don't look like that. And like, that is worse to me, in my mind, worse than a pair of fucking tits just on the wall. And it pisses me off every time I go to cons because they still do it where somebody's up there drawing art. And sure, I get it. You're doing these naked women on your covers to like get the people who care about that to buy it.
I think it's almost the same thing as they're using a woman to sell their.
They are, yes. But in this particular instance, I don't think so. I think it was just more of, the way I think about, especially Ben Frost and his art, is very much along the lines of Hardee's when they had like the models eating those big ass fucking burgers when they came out in like the mid 2000s.
Right. Yeah.
Of like, there's no way this woman eats that cheeseburger ever. She takes one bite and probably throws up afterwards after this because that's the industry she lives in.
That's a whole thing now on TikTok where like really pretty women go to fast food restaurants and
is it really
to like and film themselves eating, and they'll take sauce and like pour it over a burrito where it's like dripping down their hands, and then take a bite and it's like all over their face.
For real? That's a fucking thing?
Yes, I'm serious.
But that
it grosses me out, but yes.
But to me, that's what Ben Frost is doing, is like, I'm taking a Krispy Kreme and I'm taking a overly sexualized woman and putting it on the Krispy Kreme. Yeah. Other ones are sort of like a stoned Stewie on like a Adderall sort of, or a bugged out Stewie on like an Adderall container. I love his art so fucking much, but to me, it's more of a commentary on sort of our society as a whole. But I definitely get what you're saying around, sex sells, that kind of thing. But again, like, we're way off fucking track here.
Yeah.
Getting back to...
Anyways, I think you are right on the whole shock factor of the Lindemann show. And like you said at the beginning of the episode, like, Rammstein's been doing it forever.
Yep.
I mean, where else
can
you...
Dish. Book fucking Dish is like the most...
Yeah. I was going to say, where else can you go to a concert and have a penis spray semen on you?
Now it's foam, but back in the day it was like fake fucking semen they would spray. Yes. And he'd like just look down into his penis and like start slapping it like, stop.
Yeah.
They got arrested for that shit, I think, right?
They did. Yeah.
Here in the
Utah.
States.
Yeah.
And Flocka, I think, does not like coming back to the States because he's afraid of getting arrested or something along those lines.
Yeah. No, I actually thought about it. I was like, I think I said during the Knotfest, I was like, they better not play this in Utah ever.
just don't go to Utah.
Yeah.
Honestly, stay away from the South as well. maybe even the Midwest. Go to the big cities and you're good, I guess.
Yeah.
Except for Utah City. Is that there?
Salt Lake City.
There we go. Utah.
It's pretty liberal in Salt Lake City.
It is, yeah.
Now. I mean, as long as you stay away from Temple Square, you're good.
Yeah.
There is one, I don't even know what the song is, but there's a song where it's basically the women eating, and like they're eating like raw meat and cakes and just like shoving food in their mouth. And then they come out and like, throw cakes into the crowd. But I had to look away during that because the whole thing is they're performing on stage, and then behind them on the screen is like the video playing. And that's where you're saying like the vaginas were and like the boobs are and like the girls are and all that stuff. But during that one, like I had to look away because I'm like, this is disgusting. Like just seeing like people, not seeing people eat, but like how they were like just shoving food in their mouth and it was like going all over the place and stuff. I was just like, I can't look at that.
Very much like that Matilda scene with the kid eating the chocolate cake.
Yeah.
That's kind of a disgusting fucking scene too, where it's like, eat more German chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And the kid just like, that's...
Yeah. I don't know. It just made me like sick to see that. And like, I don't like to watch people eat anyways. I don't like the sound of people eating. Not that you could hear them eating, but I just was like, I can't. Stop.
That sound. That's the sound she hates.
Stop it.
See if she leaves it in.
I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, so that part I was just like, I was more turned off on that than I was seeing a vagina pee on somebody.
Yeah, so I don't know where that was in the set.
Yeah, I don't know what that song
early
is.
on, I want to say between Altus Flish and Fat. Maybe Fat.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That they did not play during Nutfest.
No.
And so getting back to like the whole desensitization and of nudity and whatnot, I'm going to swear this ties in.
Okay.
It's not going to be, it might be a little rambly, but not too much. But I noticed during Notfest Iowa as well that they had so you had told me going into it that they have a pole dancer.
Oh yeah,
and
I saw that on Instagram. Yeah,
I didn't look anything up on Instagram.
Well, that's all I saw.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about their show. I just knew that they had a pole dancer, and that's when I made the joke of Flocka looks different.
Yes, you did say Flocka looks different because it's the pole dancer is Flocka, and it's not really a pole dancer. There's a pole that she will like spin around on a little bit and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
The guitarist or bassist is also a female as well, not scantily clad, but they're wearing like underwear basically and revealing clothing.
Yeah.
Another guitarist.
There's two female guitarists and male.
Are there?
Guitarists.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I don't know which one's a bassist, but
yeah.
And then the drummer is.
So the drummer is what I wanted to talk about because during Knotfest Iowa, I was like, oh, all right. So they have a female drummer and her tits are just basically out with like pasties on them. Okay, that's cool. As the night went on during Knotfest Iowa, I was like, but are those pasties? I don't know. Maybe it's just like see-through pasties and kind of pixelated. I don't know. It looks weird. We're kind of a little farther way back. All I saw was, the flesh like bouncing around as they play because they're getting fucking into it. And during the song Fat, this time around, she's out there fucking banging away as well. And they bring out the cakes and everybody starts throwing the cakes out. And she comes out and starts throwing cakes out as well. But then she like takes off her panties and standing up there with her vagina hanging out and things hanging out of it, reaches up and pulls out like condoms or tampons. And starts throwing those into the crowd too. And honestly, in my head is like, there's no way you sat there for 3 fucking songs with 20 tampons shoved up in you to throw those out there. There's no fucking way that's real. Okay, is this a fake vagina you have over yourself? And I was like, hold on, wait. And I look at the tits and they're like, or the boobs. And I'm like, those aren't fucking real. That's fucking fake.
That was the moment for you?
That was the moment for me. Because up to that point, I was so far back and I would just like, it's like, and I was like, wait a second.
Once you notice that somebody can't shove 20 tampons up their vagina, then you're like.
That led me to it for sure. I think I would have noticed if that part didn't happen. But like the boobs are so fucking clearly not real. And not like they're not real. They're fake boobs. Like this is clearly a prosthetic over you, like flung over you. We'd get to the very end of the show where it's revealed, I think it's a gentleman playing it. He comes out and he takes, because they have this sort of like gag thing that holds their mouth. dentist type
like
gag.
a dentist thing that like, but it like wraps around, so the whole time his mouth is like open, like really wide.
And I think something on the nose, pulling the nose up is a little bit.
Yeah, because I think it's like a whole contraption that you put on, or that he has on his face.
And then they take that off, and that comes with the wig as well. And you see this like, oh, this is actually a fucking dude in drag.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, I think, during that song, that makes sense now of throwing the cakes in.
That just seems so early. I felt like it was more.
It did feel very early.
I don't know.
We were nowhere near the cake, by the way. We were pretty far back. But somehow we got home and there was cake on my fucking shoes. Cake
somebody must have walked through the crowd and
That's the only thing I can think of.
And then you stepped on it.
But it wasn't
how did you get cake on you?
Yeah, and it wasn't under my shoe. It was like on the side of my shoe as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like you stepped on it. It was like it splattered on your shoe or something. Yeah.
But in any case, that's sort of the evening that you're expecting here with Till Lindemann.
And then you get to fish on.
Yeah, so walking up to, and I got a picture of this. Maybe we'll throw it up right here as well. But walking up to the ballroom, there were warning signs, and it says something about strobe light. And I stopped reading at that point. It's like, oh, there's strobe lights all the time. And then when we got up there, you're like, oh no, it said stuff about fish allergies too.
Like, no, it had that this show was going to have like eggs, dairy.
Right,
fish,
yeah,
and like all this stuff, like allergen warnings, which you never see at a show.
I also though wonder if that's a Europe thing, right? Because we went to Europe a couple times this year, and for our first time ever, and they always had like the allergens on the menus of like this product contains dairy, this product contains these elements.
No, I think it was because of the cake and the fish thing.
I thought mainly the fish, but I wonder if that's just sort of like, oh, we have to do it in Europe, might as well just do it here as well.
I think I don't know. It was only there for the first time we went up. By the time we went back down, it was gone.
Yeah, but I think somebody ripped it off.
No, I
the
think
wall.
so too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. No, I wasn't saying like the venue took it down. No, I think somebody took it like, I'm going to keep this. But anyways, with Fish On, they, I don't know if it's at the beginning of that song or during that, or at the end of that song, but they come out with like bowls of dead fish, but real fish.
So you say that. It looked to me that they were individually wrapped, sort of as you'd go to a restaurant and you'd get a napkin and silverware in this little container, like in the plastic that you'd rip up, and like, this is what I get with my meal. I thought they were throwing that out, and then they came out later with the fish can and started shooting fish. To me, that makes sense of like...
No, the first little bit was like they were just tossing it into the crowd, and then he comes out with the cannon and like shoots fish into the crowd.
And they're real fish, not live. They're dead by this point.
Fish, but they're real.
There was,
and I did know that from Instagram as well, because I saw a post where a bite was taken out of the fish and it was like on the floor, and I was like, he's gonna take a bite of the fish and throw it into the crowd, and that made me sick to think about. Yeah,
I don't know if he actually did that, but there was a guy behind us who got a fish, and he's walking around with it in his mouth doing photos and videos for people around him. We never got anywhere near a fish.
Thank goodness.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I was honestly like, I wanted to make sure that if one was coming our way, I would move, because I'm not, no.
Another good song for me, not necessarily a good song, but a memorable song. And again, a lot of this is memorable for me because of the imagery and what's going on, was Golden Shower. And this was one they played during Knotfest Iowa.
Yeah, that's what the vagina's peeing.
Yes. Yeah. And it's at the end of the song, it's basically a woman with like water running down her face, but she's got like this funnel that feeds into her mouth. And then the camera goes down, she's naked, and it goes to her vagina, and there's water dripping from her vagina. And the camera keeps going down there. She's basically standing on the shoulders of another woman, and you're realizing, oh, it's not water, it's piss, or urine, right? That's going into the mouth of the next woman that's then fed down. Sort of a human centipede sort of thing going on here, right? But at Knotfest Iowa, we were positioned just right where Till was exactly under this stream.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's fucking brilliant that it's just like the women are peeing into their mouths and then peeing into the next and then the next, and it's all landing on you type thing. That same alignment didn't work out at this particular show.
Us, yeah.
But I was like, oh, all right. But I don't know if he meant to stand straight in that spot, but I think so. I think that's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
That was another one that during Knotfest, I think a lot of people were like, I wish we would have got warnings about the kind of imagery and the kind of things that we were going to see.
Yeah, you saw that in comments or something.
In the comments of like a subreddit, yeah.
When did Till walk through the crowd? I can't remember what song that was.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't really know any of these songs.
I don't either. Only a couple of them I recognize.
Was it before Fish? It was before Fish.
It was before Fish, and it must have maybe been before Praise Abort as well.
Maybe.
I just can't remember.
There was a moment where he put like a camera on his head and walked through the crowd with the keyboardist. She came out with a guitar.
Oh yeah.
The two of them walked through the crowd together.
Yeah.
That was a little frustrating, I think you said, for sure.
Yeah, just because. So how Aragon's set up is like it's a ballroom, and like you can walk through, like there's little pillars, and you can kind of walk onto the crowd in many areas. It's not like you go from the back front.
There's like an outer perimeter with the bars and everything.
Thank you for saying that. So he started at the bar and then kind of came around and walked just a few rows behind us. So he's like really close behind us. But everybody that was in the front of the stage then bum rushed
to get closest to Till.
Close to him. And it's like they obviously weren't letting people get close to him.
Yeah.
Or, you know how they do that or whatever. But it was just like I was just so frustrated with that because I had a perfect spot. I could see the show. And then once everybody kind of settled back out, the rest of the night, I couldn't.
You had lost your perfect spot.
I did. And I just felt like everybody was just in my way. And I'm like, no, we were all good. Why did you fucking have to move?
Go get your spot back and get right back to where you were.
Yes.
But then again, people are like, I know he's just doing this for one little bit. I'm going to snag your spot. But if you want to get as close as you can get to him.
Yeah. And honestly, we could have been the people that then, instead of watching him walk, we could have went forward and been close to the stage. But
and he was like right behind us. It was like two people behind us. I did like that because
I forgot I have a video of it.
His camera, I'd like to see that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
But his camera, as he's walking, he stops by the bar first, and you see like the bartender like just laughing, like I don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
Like he's buying beers and shit, right?
Yeah.
And then goes and makes it across to the other stage, over to stage left or right, and then back down and back up to the other side of the stage for that song. Yeah.
I just don't know how. Well, I guess Rammstein does something similar where they start in the center and then they like crowd surf to the front.
They have this last one. They took the raft out from where like Dua Blard played, and then they took the raft out back in.
So I was gonna say like I don't know how often you would be able to get that close to Till.
And there was like that live in Paris that they did where they started in the back and like a catwalk dropped down. They walked over the stage.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I recognize that.
We've seen it, but it's only been once. Yeah. And it's only when they came out for like the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And they've always had like really great theatric entrances. And even before this started, I overheard a guy behind us talking about.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
We saw Rammstein. They did Rom 4, and he starts talking to his friend about Rom 4. I love that song. I love that intro with like them coming down and like each individual member coming out. And then here comes Till with the hat, like the tap dancing with the hat and throwing it in the crowd that explodes. So fucking theatric within their live performances. And this was definitely the same thing, but you know, they hadn't seen Till up to that point. And like, oh, we just saw him the week before. And like, oh, what is it? It's like, you've seen Rammstein, right? It's the same fucking thing, basically. And I think we said the same thing at Knotfest. I was like, oh, it's Rammstein, but with just Till. And I was counting it, and I was like, it's the same members, same number of members, same roles the members play. It's very, very Rammstein feel to it. So if you love Rammstein, I think you'd really love Till as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, even the performance of him, like his gestures and his movements and everything is basically exactly what he does during Rammstein.
Yeah.
Which is probably just, you know, how he puts on a show. So it's like, but we've seen other performers who, like Corey Taylor, for example, when he's with Slipknot, he's, you know, banging his head and like doing all this stuff. And then when he's performing himself, it's more.
There's a little bit of that, but not as much. Yeah.
He stands there more. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to think is like, there's a couple people that we've seen solo versus with a band, and it's a different performance where this is the same performance.
I would say this felt. We've only seen Rammstein a handful of times, three times now, right? Open Air 2016?
2016, yeah. 2017
Tinley Park.
Yeah.
And then when they came back to Chicago for their North American tour.
Yeah.
And from 2016 forward, 2022 a little bit not so much because they did bring out the giant dick cannon where they shot the foam out. but it hasn't been as raunchy or explicit as past shows.
No, it's been very fire driven,
yes,
like flames driven.
Very pyro heavy, and I think Rammstein is now known as sort of the pyro band.
Yeah,
you go to a Rammstein show, fucking shit will start on fire. Mein Teil, where Flocka's in a cauldron and they light that shit on fire under him, right? With a giant cannon, and they bring out a cannon you have to sit in and shoot these flames at, right? So I think Rammstein has sort of evolved outside of more raunchy, like Book Dish used to be, into more what kind of fire elements can we bring into it, where this was definitely more raunchy, more explicit. Yeah. And watching this show, we saw Marilyn Manson not too long before this.
Right.
This is what I expect Marilyn Manson to be like.
And shock rock.
Yeah. And I expect back in the early 2000s, late 90s, Manson would put on a show very similar to this. And when we saw Manson, I was like, it was a good show. He put on a great show, but it wasn't what I expected. This is what I expected for Manson. So having that shock aspect of it in you can call it artistic if you want, as I have, or you can not call it artistic, sort of approach is, I like it. I really do like it. And I not many bands or performers are doing shit like this.
Yeah.
So it was a really good performance from a change of pace for me, for sure.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I want to bring up more songs, but I don't remember what song is what.
Yeah, I don't remember what performance is done during what either.
I just remember I had a great time. I left smiling ear to ear, even after the lackluster performance from Twin Temple. But
this made up for it. I mean, even for me, for both openers, like I wasn't really going in for the openers anyways, so I think I was fine with it.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely wasn't. The first opener, Aesthetic Perfection, I loved their performance. I thought it would fit very well with this, knowing what Till was doing, after seeing them at Knotfest. And then Twin Temple having that sort of, again, lackluster performance that we had seen leading into this, like, all right, whatever. But I was super fucking happy with this show and glad we did. I love Rammstein anyway, so anytime Till or Rammstein come to town, I'm definitely going to check them out.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
But yeah, this was a blast. It was a thing.
I was going to say, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get when you go see a show. We kind of had an idea, though, because we just saw them in Knotfest for a mini portion of it. So
all right, going back to that comment that I was talking a little bit about earlier with Knotfest, and during that Knotfest show of people saying, like, hey, I wish there was a warning ahead of time so I didn't bring my kids, or I knew not to bring my kids. Seeing this live performance, do you think it should be an 18-plus show, or just open to everyone?
17 plus probably.
17 plus, okay.
Yeah. Or movies are the same way though. Like just say like parental discretion or whatever.
Yeah, they are, but they aren't. You don't have women pulling tampons out of themselves, throwing them in the crowds. This one, obviously, 18 plus, cool. They did not do that at Knotfest, but Knotfest also wasn't all ages, so you had young kids.
Yeah.
So even with parental discretion, I'm with you on that. I honestly am. We were raised.
But then again, it shouldn't be parents' decision what you see. I don't know.
It shouldn't, but it should at the same time, I think.
Yeah.
We're not parents by any means, but I do remember my parents always doing that growing up as well. Like, you want to see a rated R movie? Sure, go ahead. You want to play a violent video game? Go ahead. However, you'd sit down ahead of time and have that conversation of like, this is not real. This is not real. The shit that's happening in this is not okay, that you should not go out and stab somebody in the fucking throat. It's like, clearly that's not what you're supposed to do. This is a fucking story. And this is just a story. This is entertainment, and it's meant to be fun, and I had a fucking blast.
Agree. It's just entertainment.
I get that's the power of art. That's the power of entertainment. It's the power of live music, I guess. So go check out live music. As you said, you don't know what you're going to get until you go check it out. So check out live music, and we'll catch you at the next show.
Yep. Bye.